In this video, I will explain the process of getting beautiful, professional-looking photos of these unique, fierce small birds, dippers. If you'd like to know how to find and approach them, which gear to bring, and how to prepare your settings for the best shots possible, then keep watching, as I'll reveal all of it in great detail so you can go out and get stunning photos yourself. I'll be photographing the white-throated dippers, but the tips are applicable to all 5 species of dippers. Hi, my name is Patrick, and on this channel I make tutorials on how to photograph specific animals, such as kingfishers, sand martins, owls and otters, with many more to come. I've been photographing wildlife for a good 8 years now. I give every subject a lot of thought, because I strive to make tutorials anyone can find useful, no matter the gear or skill level, which means that sometimes my approach can challenge the general advice, but is tried and true to bring you photographic success. Finally, I would like to thank Tragopan for collaborating with me on this video. First, let's briefly discuss the subject we'll be photographing. Dippers are small birds found along freshwater habitats in the highlands of Americas, Europe, Asia and parts of Africa. The genus includes these 5 species. As the only semi-aquatic songbird, dippers are uniquely adapted to their environment. Their fascinating adaptations help them not just survive, but thrive, including a furred eyelid, solid bones, nasal flaps, and a preen gland that waterproofs their feathers. Dippers are often seen bobbing up and down on rocks in fast-flowing rivers as they hunt for food. They feed on crabs, small fish, mollusks, insect larvae, and other invertebrates. To forage, they walk along the riverbed, turning over stones in search of prey. To photograph the dippers, you need to locate them first. They can be found along the banks of fast-moving mountain rivers and rapids with cold, clear waters. In my experience, approaching them wasn't too difficult, but their shyness varied depending on the location. I found them along 3 rivers in Slovenia, one where the dipper flew away the moment it saw me, and another where I could easily film it with my phone from just 7 meters away. My advice is to approach the river or stream slowly and quietly. Spot the bird first and then carefully move closer. I found that if I waited for them to dive underwater before taking a step or 2 forward and then remained still, they wouldn't be bothered by my presence. Another important factor to consider when choosing a location for photography is getting the right angle. To capture the best photos of dippers, you need to get your camera as low to the ground as possible. The lower, the better. Some parts of the river may not allow this if the banks are too steep. In my case, I chose a spot where I could lie on the ground, positioning myself almost at the same level as the rocks in the river. Bonus tip: observe the dipper and identify the rocks it likes to land on. Then, position yourself accordingly. Get close enough to the bird while ensuring the background behind the rock is far away. This will help create a smooth, blurred background without distracting elements in your photos. Dippers are most active during their mating period, which can give you more opportunities to photograph them. Just be sure not to disturb them or get too close to their nests. For the best experience when photographing dippers, I recommend the following gear. A lens with a 400 to 600 mm focal length, full frame equivalent, is ideal, as they are smaller birds than they appear in the photos. Lens stabilization is helpful, but not essential. As for aperture, the wider you can open your lens, the better. I use a Sigma 150 to 600 mm with an f5 to 6.3 aperture, and it works just fine. If you've chosen a rock that's nice and close, blurring the background won't be a problem anyway. When it comes to cameras, there aren't many specific requirements. However, in-body image stabilization, fast autofocus, and good high ISO performance will definitely help. That said, I've captured some great shots even with my Nikon Z30, an entry-level camera. How you mount or hold your camera can have an even bigger impact on your final image than the camera itself. It affects your shooting angle, stability, mobility, and how easily you can adjust your composition. After testing different setups, I found that the beanbags and tripods produce the best results. Beanbags offer a great balance between stability and mobility, allowing you to shoot from a very low angle while staying flexible. Tripods, on the other hand, have two options. If you have one that lets you get very close to the ground, that's great. But since mine can't do that, I use the second option, inverting the center column upside down, extending it to the ground, and then rotating the camera upright using the lens collar. This brings me to the final piece of gear, camouflage. To improve your chances of photographing dippers without disturbing them, you can throw a camouflage net or blanket over the tripod and yourself, creating a simple hide. Another option is wearing a 3D camo suit or using a camouflage hide like the Hoki version 3 from Tragopan. I've been using Tragopan products for the last few years, and they proved to be useful and very well made. So when I was planning this video, I decided to reach out to them to see if they wanted to collaborate with me on this video. They kindly provided me with the Hoki version 3 hide and a bean bag, which are a great solution for shooting in open areas where you can get unobstructed view while laying down, as is the case here with the dippers. Hoki hide weighs 2.65 kilograms, so it's not too heavy to carry with you. The setup process is also pretty straightforward. First, you take everything out of a compact bag it comes in, position it where you will be photographing from. Next, use rapid deployment. Pull the strap up, push it down until it clicks in place. Now use the pegs to secure the hide in place. First at the front, then at the back. Okay, with that done, insert the aluminum pole in the back. Pull and secure it with peg. Now it's time to put on a roof. Like so. We're almost done. Use the pole in the back part so the hide keeps the shape nicely and gives you enough space inside. Optionally, use another pole for the awning in the front or on the sides for additional protection from the sun or rain. Finally, it's time to get inside. I like to store my backpack at the back of the hide, so it's hidden and in my hand's reach if I would need anything. As a final step, push your lens through the mesh and you're ready to go. Speaking from experience, prepare to feel tired back muscles after a few hours photographing in this position. I noticed it's a bit easier to stay in this position for a long time if you bring a small inflatable pillow and put it under your chest. Now that you've chosen your location and set up your gear, the last step is to check your camera settings and adjust them for the best results. I'll be shooting in manual mode, but you can use one of the priority modes if that's what you prefer. For shutter speed, I recommend around 1/500th of a second to freeze motion, both of the bird and any slight movement of your gear. Of course, feel free to experiment with longer shutter speeds to blur the water or shorter shutter speeds to capture the bird as sharply as possible. For aperture, use the widest setting your lens allows. If you're concerned about depth of field being too shallow or want to improve sharpness, stop down by about 2/3 of a stop. I usually shoot between f6.3 and f8, depending on the available light. Set ISO sensitivity to auto, but limit it to a value you're comfortable with. For me, that's 12,800. For other settings, make sure lens and in-camera stabilization are turned on. Set your shutter release mode to continuous so you can capture a burst of images and adjust your autofocus mode to track the bird's movement. If your camera has a silent photography mode, turn it on to minimize noise. But don't worry if it doesn't. Since you'll be near fast-flowing water, the sound of river crashing against the rocks will drown out most of the noise from the camera anyway. Here I have a rather interesting story from one of the mornings photographing the dippers. I was out with my dad, each shooting in a different spot. My dad decided to use the Nikon D500, which only has a quiet mode, but not the silent photography mode, which you find on the mirrorless cameras. When he was taking photos of a dipper, he noticed that it was actually very curious about camera sound and even got closer to check what it is. I think it's a very cute story and a rare moment where camera sound actually brought the subject closer as opposed to scare it away. Now that everything is set, it's time to get inside the hide and capture some beautiful photographs and video footage. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn how to photograph kingfishers, sand martins and other wildlife, I have plenty of videos you're gonna love. To get notified when I upload a new tutorial, please consider subscribing to my channel. A big thanks to Tragopan for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for a new hide, camouflage suit or other camo gear, definitely check them out. I've added a link in the description. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Cheers!